Hello, greetings once again. Thank you very much for joining today's class. Yes, today we are starting sensorial education. Not to waste much time, let's go into the document we have here. I'm sharing my screen for you to also see whatever we are going to talk about. So we say, what is sensorial education? What at all is sensorial education? Sensorial education is the key to the world, revealing to the children a deeper knowledge about the outside world. The word sensorial comes from the word sense or senses. So when you hear senses, you see our normal sense organs, the sense of sight, smell, taste, feel, and then what? Hearing. So we got the word sensorial education from the word senses. When we say sensorial education is a key to the world, revealing to the child a deeper knowledge about the outside world, what do we mean? When children are born into this world, they get to see everything to be normal. They think everything is the same, okay? Even with food, they will taste it, they will eat it. They can't really differentiate between what is salty and what is sweet. They see everything to be tastable and is food. So we do the sensorial education for children to get a wider understanding of everything that they are feeling with their senses. Every temperature is okay for them. They don't know the difference between warm and cold or hot. They don't know. So we give them the sensorial education for them to be able to refine their senses, to understand that not only just what they are feeling or they are hearing or they are tasting or they are seeing is the same as everything, but there is difference. So what at all is the purpose of the sensorial work? The purpose of the sensorial work is to help to develop children's brain, to help them make things in order, to broaden their understanding and to refine their senses. That is the purpose of the sensorial education. Now let's look at the Montessori area sensorial has its materials. We have designed materials for the sensorial lessons. And these designed sensorial materials help children to become intellectually developed. We will look at some of the materials and how they help children to really develop intellectually. These materials help children to be able to broaden their understanding. There is a material called the knob cylinders. We will discuss it. When we get there, you will come to realize that these knob cylinders are really working on children's brain. So it helps children to be very, very intellectually developed. Not only the knob cylinders, but other materials as well. The design sensorial materials is helping children to be logical thinkers. You ask yourself, when someone says something to me and I see that whatever the person is saying doesn't really make sense, I say the person, what you're saying is not logic. So the materials are designed to teach the children, to help them to be able to think logically. It also helps them to have self-discipline and do things in order. It also helps them to develop their sensory motor skills. It helps them to have muscular coordination. Some materials are a bit heavier and how they will carry it, go and from one place to the other. It's really building on their muscles. Every sensorial material develops children's language. We use some superlative words and comparative words in there, like big, bigger, biggest for children to widen their vocabulary. So the design sensorial material is doing all this, including developing children's mathematical minds, helping children to have mathematical mind. When we say somebody is having a mathematical mind, what do we mean? Have you ever seen a lawyer trying to defend his client on a case before? This lawyer can try his best to ask the opponent a question like, at 7:45 a.m., you were in the market. At 12 p.m., you were home. And then at 3 p.m., you were at the party. So something happened at 1. And by then you say you were not home. But you see, they can just calculate things and then they'll come at the end of it and tell you, so I put it to you that you are guilty. So in that case, they are able to calculate steps and then join them together, and then they get a result. Human beings are supposed to know how to calculate their life. If you wake up in the morning and you are not able to calculate your life and know that from this time to this time, I will be doing this, and after this time to this time, I will have this doing, you don't have mathematical mind. You are not able to calculate your own steps. You don't have a mathematical mind. You sit from morning to evening and you ask yourself, so what did I do today? You don't even know what you did today. You don't have mathematical mind. You should be able to calculate your steps. These sensorial materials are building all these things in these young ones. So definitely, when children are being trained under the Montessori approach, they will come out as refined people, logical thinkers, and they will be better off than those who are just using the roots learning style. We have exercise groups under the sensorial education that we are going to look at. First of all, we have the visual sense exercise. Yes, the visual sense exercise. You can write this note down. We have the visual sense exercise. We have the tactile sense exercise. And you can say tactile sense exercise, just put it into bracket. Baric sense exercise, thermic sense exercise can all be found under the tactile sense exercise. So the baric and the thermic and the stereognostics, please, the stereognostics is down there. You can add it to the baric and the thermic and then put them all in a bracket for tactile sense exercise. What's the meaning of tactile? I believe visual we understand. So visual sense exercise is for the eye. Exercises that are going to train the child's eye. Tactile sense exercises are exercises that are refining our sense of touch. Baric and the tactile is for weight. Baric and the tactile is for weight. Thermic is for temperature. Thermic is for temperature. And stereognosis is also a way that the child will learn with the absence of sight, and the brain and the sense of touch will be coordinating. The brain and the sense of touch coordinates in the absence of sight. That is stereognosis. Olfactory sense is the sense of smell. Olfactory sense is the sense of smell. Gustatory sense is the sense of taste. Gustatory sense is the sense of taste. So, and then auditory is the sense of hearing. So we have these exercise groups, and the designed Montessori sensorial materials are designed to meet all these senses. We are helping children visually, tactilely, olfactory, gustatory, and then thermic sense to really develop all these senses. We are using materials to develop them very well for these young ones. Let's look at some examples of materials under the exercise groups we just mentioned. So if we look at this is called the color tablets. The color tablet. This color tablet is an example of a visual exercise which helps children discriminate between different objects and see similarities in these objects as well. So, example of a visual material is the color tablet. There are a lot of other materials, but we just use this as an example. We will see more materials along the line. We also have the tactile material, and an example of the tactile material is the touch fabric. You can see the touch fabrics here. You can see that each of these fabric has a different texture. So these fabrics are examples of the tactile materials, tactile exercises. Now we have the baric exercise. The baric exercise, we can have the example of the baric tablet and the weight cylinders. You can see the child is carrying a weight cylinder. All these cylinders have different objects in there that has different weights. So the child is able to differentiate between these weights. And this is really refining the child's sense of touch, because everything in this world don't come in the same weight, and they are learning how to differentiate between these weights with the baric tablets and the weight cylinders. This material is called the thermic tablets. The thermic tablets help children to learn about temperature. These materials, each one of them has a special temperature. Some are cold, some are warm, some are a bit hot, and they are naturally inbuilt temperatures. They are not artificial. They are the normal materials we have. So they help children learn differences in what temperature. We will look at that particular material when we are diving deeper into the materials. We have the this is the auditory material. The auditory material example is the sound cylinders. You can see the sound cylinders here. The red and blue containers you see here is the sound cylinders, helping the children to refine their senses of what? Hearing, their sense of hearing. Then we have the gustatory and olfactory. This is a material that is helping children refine their sense of taste and smell. Sense of taste and smell. Sense of taste and smell. This is where the children learn how to be able to differentiate between bad odor, fragrant smell, mint smell, and then even with taste, they are able to differentiate between what is salty, what is sweet, what is bitter. The four fundamental tastes are all understood through these materials, the gustatory and the olfactory. So as we said earlier on, stereognosis is the sense of, is known as haptic perception of or tactile gnosis. It is the ability to perceive and recognize the form of an object in the absence of visual and auditory information. Let me give you a scenario. Assuming you have entered your room, which is very dark, and you are looking for something. Because the room is very dark and you have the picture of what you are looking for in your brain, you will use your hands to touch. As your hands keep on touching and looking for the thing, to be able to see that I have found what I'm looking for, it's your hands that will feel and then will send a signal to the brain in the absence of the sight to see what I'm feeling. Is it what I'm looking for? So the ability to find something in the absence of sight is what we call stereognostic sense. Stereognostic sense. As a blindfolded person, or in the absence of sight, and a child is able to recognize something and let you know what he or she has recognized and mention the name for you, this tells you how the child's brain and the sense of touch has really what? Coordinated. This tells you how the child's brain has really coordinated with the sense of what? Touch. So these are some materials we use for the stereognosis activities. We have the knob cylinders that I mentioned early on, and then we have the mystery bags. These materials are used to refine the child's stereognostic sense. To teach sensorial education, you should make sure that in this lesson, it's either we are constructing, or we are grading, or we are looking for similar and related exercises, similar or related things. That is comparing. So we have materials that we construct them in building them into different things. We have materials that during these exercises, we'll be grading them, maybe from the highest to the shortest, from the darkest to the lightest. We have grading activities. We also have things that will be sorting them according to their similarities and their differences. These are the material and the exercises that we are going to look at. So when you pick up a material to teach a child, it's either you're going to construct with that material, or you are going to look at the similarities and the differences with that material, or you are going to grade that particular material from maybe from darkest to lightest, from tallest to shortest, from biggest to smallest. It depends on the material you choose. These are some of the exercise areas that we do with children under the sensorial education. Now, let's dive deeper into the materials and see how these materials are being presented in the classroom. Let's watch the following videos to see how these materials are being presented. As you are watching the videos, please take note of the notes in your handout to see the importance of these materials and then the way to present the materials to the children. Let's watch the following videos.